Do you use Capture One, Lightroom, or Camera Raw to process your raw file? Let me know in the comment section. I really want to know. I'm going to show you my step-by-step process on how I process this image right here in Capture One, and also how I retouch this image to get this result inside of Photoshop. So this is the image straight out of camera. This is how I shot this image. So I shot this image with Nikon Z5, and I used the Nikon 85 1.8 S lens. It's a prime lens, and for this image I shot it with ISO 200 1/400 of seconds. My f-stop was 1.8, and I used the 8600 and a softbox to take this image right here. So the first thing I'm going to do for this image, once I open it inside of Capture One, I'm going to come to my crop tool right here. I'm going to click on this angle right here, and I'm just going to click on 4:5. And I like up my image 4:5 because it works best for Instagram. And just position it the way I want, and just click on enter right here. Now looking at this image, I feel the image is looking a little bit underexposed. So I'm going to come to my adjustment right here. Once I click on my adjustment, I'm going to come to my exposure. I'm going to add a little bit of exposure to the image like this. So let's say 0.35, like this works for me. So next thing I'm going to do, I'll make sure my exposure one right here is selected. The reason why I make sure my exposure one is selected, it's if the highlight is peaking, I'm going to see. So as you can see right here on the hand, it means the highlight right here is peaking, meaning it's too much, it's blown out. So that's why I like owning my exposure one right here. Once my exposure one is on, I'm just going to come to my highlight right here. Under my high dynamic range, I'm going to reduce my highlight a little bit like this, so you can see I've reduced those blown outs right there. But it's looking good like this. It's really not affecting the image, so I'm going to leave it like this. And also I'm going to open up my shadow a little bit, just a little bit, tiny bit like this, just to add a bit of more details to those dark areas right here. So you can see right here, those details right there are now a little bit visible, but I feel it's too much. So I'm going to come to my blacks and just take my blacks down a little bit. It's looking really good like this. And for my white, I'm just going to open up the white a little bit like this to compensate for this highlight which I brought down. And if I just show you the before and after right now, you can see we've actually go a long way retouching this image. So this is the before and this is the after. So just by moving a few slider, we actually got here. And I'm just going to come back to my exposure because I feel right now it's too much. I'm going to take it down a little bit, just a tiny bit like this. Okay, so this is the before and this is the after. So this is everything I did for this image inside of Capture One. So I'm going to open this image in Photoshop right now. So I'm going to come to this image right here. I'm going to right click and just click on edit with and click on Photoshop right here, and just make sure I'm using 16-bit. You can use 8-bit if you want, but I'm going to use 16-bit for the sake of this tutorial. And I'm just going to leave the option at uncompressed, ICC profile, Adobe, resolution 300, and scale is on fixed 100%. I'm going to click on edit variant. So as I click on edit variant, so this image is going to open inside the Photoshop, and we can start doing the skin retouching. And once this image open in Photoshop, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate the layer by pressing Ctrl J. And after that, I'm just going to remove the blemishes from this image. So to remove your blemishes, there are different methods which you can use to remove your blemishes, but I prefer using the focus separation method to remove blemishes from my image. And to do that, all I have to do is click on my Teelens focus separation 16-bit right here. Once I click on it, I'm going to use the default radius, which is this 6.4 right here. I'm going to click on OK. And I'm going to come to my texture here. I'm going to come all the way in like this, pick my close stamp tool, make sure sample current layer is selected, and make sure I'm using a soft round brush. Make sure your sample is on current layer, make sure align is checked. So I'm going to use my square bracket key to increase my brush size, and just press alternate on my keyboard to sample from a close by area, and just paint over those blemishes like that to remove, sample and brush to remove, just like that, sample and just brush to remove those blemishes. I have a video explaining 5 ways which you can use to remove blemishes from an image. So if you wanted that video, just check the link in the description. I'll be leaving a link where you can see that video right there. So I'm just going to remove the blemishes for this image like that. This image doesn't really have a lot of blemishes, so I'm going to take my time to remove them. And also, I'm going to sample from this close by area right here on the hair right here, and just fix this place that are broken right here, just to make everything blend like that. So I'm going to sample and just paint, sample and just paint to fix those places right there that are looking broken. Okay. So if I just show you the before and the after. You can see we removed the blemishes from this image. So that's the first thing I did for this image. So after I remove the blemishes, what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to do my micro dodge and burn for this image. I'm going to be touching this image using focus separation and micro dodge and burn. So to do my micro dodge and burn, I'm just going to come to my actions right here and click on dodge and burn action right here, and just going to play my dodge and burn action for me. And if you don't already know how to create your own dodge and burn action, you can watch this video right here. So after creating dodge and burn action, I'm going to create a check layer. So I'm going to my adjustment layer and just click on black and white adjustment layer and just take this thread all the way down like this, so that I can see where to dodge and where to burn. So basically what I'm trying to do right now, I want to make those parts that are looking too bright a little bit darker, and those parts that are looking dark a little bit brighter. So let me just show you. For example, let me just zoom in and just create a new layer, pick a normal brush tool. So you can see this part right here on the forehead, it's looking a little bit dark. I'm just going to brighten it up. This part right here is looking a little bit dark. This part right here is looking a little bit dark. This part right here of the image are looking a little bit dark. Also, this part right here are looking a little bit dark. So I'm just going to fix those parts a little bit dark and those parts that look a little bright, just to even out the image and make it look smooth. So I'm going to delete this layer. After creating my dodge and burn action and my black and white check layer, I'm going to pick my normal brush tool. Make sure I'm using a soft round brush and click on this brush settings right here. Make sure the brush edge is smooth. Come to your flow, change your flow to 2% or 1%, but I prefer using 2%, and make sure your white brush, because we're going to be brushing on a black layer, so make sure you're using a white brush. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and just increase my brush size and just paint on this place right here. On my dodge layer, paint on this place right here. This is looking too dark like that, so you can see the before and the after. It's looking bright right now. So that's what I'm basically going to be doing for the whole of this image. I'm going to be making the bright part a little bit darker and the dark part a little bit brighter, just like that. So I'm going to be fast about this because I'm still going to be retouching this image using focus separation. So if I was to retouch this image using just micro dodge and burn, I'm going to take my time to actually do my micro dodge and burn. But since I'm still going to be using focus separation to retouch this image, I'm just going to be fast about this micro dodge and burn like that. So make sure you are increasing and actually decreasing your brush size according to the parts you are dodging and burning. So right now, if I zoom in, you can see this part right here looking too bright. So I come to my burn. I'm just going to burn it a little bit just to match those existing colors right there, or rather existing luminosity right there. Okay. So you can zoom all the way in because it's metal jump, but it's not global dodge and burn. You can zoom all the way in like this. Okay. Let me show you the before and after what we just did so you can see. This is the before and this is after. The before and the after. Let me zoom in so you can see the before and the after. So let me just delete this check layer so you can see. Alright, so the before and the after. You can see those parts on the face that are looking too dark. We just fix them using this micro dodge and burn. The before and the after. The before and the after. So right now I feel this part are looking too bright. So I'm just going to come to my burn and just burn this part a little bit because I feel they are looking too bright like that. Now next thing I'm going to do for this image, I'm going to use focus separation to actually smoothen out the skin. So to do your focus separation, I'm going to come back to my action again and click on this Teelens focus separation 16 bits because this image is 16 bits. If you want your image to be smooth, use a smaller blur radius. But if you want to retain texture or your image, use a higher blur radius. That's the best way I can explain this. So for this image, I'm going to be using 6.4 because I want the image to be smooth. At the same time, I want to rotate textures on the image. So 6.4 works for me, or let me just use 6. 6.4 works for me. I'm going to use 6.4 and click on OK. Let me know in the comment section which Gaussian blur radius you use to retouch image like this. I really want to know. So I'm just going to zoom in like this. I'm just hide this my high texture layer right here. So once I hide it, I'll pick my mixer brush tool. And for my mixer brush tool, make sure this place right here is selected. My weight is on 20. My load is on 30. My mix doesn't really matter because this place is on transparent, while my flow is on 20 and this place right here is on 10 and sample all layer is selected. And the reason why my sample all layer is selected is because I'm brushing on an empty layer. If I'm brushing directly on the low frequency colors and tones, I'm going to uncheck this sample all layer. So the reason why I like brushing on an empty layer, when I was editing before, I was brushing directly on the low frequency, and if I make any mistake and I try to erase it, it's just going to damage the whole image and I have to start all over again from scratch. So that's why I like brushing on an empty layer. So I'm just going to pick my mixer brush tool, make sure I'm using a soft round brush and use the settings I explained earlier. Just make sure you brush your shadows separately and make sure you brush your highlights separately. don't just brush on the image. Make sure you're brushing your highlight separately and your shadow separately. And if you're just starting out, make sure you take your time to actually do it and master it. So I'm going to brush on these highlights right here on the forehead separately. So I'm just going to come here and just paint on these highlights like this separately, and brush on the transitions separately. Come to this forehead like this, increase my brush size, and also make sure you are increasing and decreasing your brush size according to the parts you are actually trying to work on. So make sure you are just increasing and decreasing your brush size like that. If I want to work on these small highlights right here behind the nose, I'm going to decrease my brush size and just paint on only those highlights like that separately, because if I just brush the shadow to the highlights or the highlight to the shadow, the image is going to look flat. That's why if you see some image online, it looks flat, like it's plastic. It's because they just brush highlights into shadows or shadows into highlights. So make sure you are actually brushing your highlights separately, and make sure you are brushing your shadow separately. It's really important. That's the key element when using this focus separation. Make sure you are brushing your highlights separately, make sure you are brushing your shadow separately, and make sure you are actually taking your time to do it if you are starting out. And as you do it along, you're going to get better. It is that have been helpful to you so far. Make sure to give it a like so more people can see this video and actually learn from this video as well. Let me just show you the before and after of what I've done so far. This is the before and this is the after. The before and the after. You can see the image is looking smooth, but it still has the textures. That's what I like. I like my image natural. So this is the before and the after. I really like this image like this. So I'm just going to continue painting on the image. Now let's see our before and after. This is the before and this is the after. The before and the after. You can see how amazing and how smooth this image is looking right now. Now this I'm going to do for this image, I'm just going to make the eyes white. So to do that, I already have eyes that fit whitening action. And if you've been following my channel, I believe you already have this action as well. All the action I used to retouch this image, I already gave it out for free. And if you want to download those action, I'll leave a link when you can download those action in the description below. So go check there and download this action. So for my eyes that fit whitening action, I'm just going to click on it. I'm just going to run that action, and I just pick my normal brush tool, take my flow back to 100%. Make sure I'm using the soft one brush, and make sure my brush is set to white. If it's on black and I try to paint, it's not going to work. So make sure it's on white, because we are painting on the black layer mask. So I'm just going to paint on the white part of the eyes like this, and do the same thing for this other eyes right here. And if you feel you make any mistake, you can just press S to switch to a black brush and just remove it from the black part of the eyes if you feel there's any mistake. So after that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come my feather right here under these properties and just move my all the way up like this, and just reduce the opacity a little bit. Like I said, I like my image natural. So let's see our before. This is our before and this is after. Now next I'm going to do, I'm just going to brighten those catch light on the eyes a little bit, just to make it a little bit brighter. So I come to my adjustment layer, come to my brightness adjustment layer, just increase the brightness. After I increase the brightness, I'm going to invert the layer mask by pressing on Ctrl I to invert the layer mask. Once I invert the layer mask, I'm going to paint on only those catch lights on the eyes with my white brush. Paint on the catch light of the eyes, paint on the catch light of the eyes, and maybe paint on the lips as well, just to make it a little bit shiny. And just come to my adjustment layer, come to the feather, just feather it a little bit. And now let's see the before and the after. The before and the after. You can see how amazing it is. If you feel it's too much, you can just reduce the opacity. Obviously I'm going to reduce the opacity. Okay, now I'm just going to group everything I just did for simplicity's sake, so you can see our overall. So you can see our overall before and after. So this is where we started from. This is where we are right now. You can see the drastic change. Like the image is still looking natural, but the changes are there. See the before and see the after. Now next I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to correct the colors on the image. And to fix the skin tone or the skin color of this image, there are different ways you can do that. You can use the graded map option, you can use the Retouching Academy option, and also you can use the normal brush tool and just a new adjustment layer to fix the color. But I'm going to be using the graded map option right here. And if you want to learn how to use the Retouching Academy, check out this video right here. So to use the color correction action, I'm going to come to my action right here and click on color correction action. If you want to get this action, like I said, I'm giving out this action for free. Check the link in the description below to get this action. So once you play the action, make sure your gradient is selected and not the layer mask. It's very important, because if your layer mask is selected and you just click on your gradient right here and you try to sample color, it's going to show black, which we don't want. So make sure your gradient is selected and not the layer mask. So once your gradient is selected, just click on the gradient right here Once you click on this, it's going to show your graded editor. So right here we have our shadows, we have our midtones, and we have our highlights. And sample any colors from the shadow area. So I'm going to sample right here for the shadows like that, and also click on the midtones, sample any colors from the midtones. I'm going to sample right here as the midtones like that. And also for the highlights, I'm going to click on the highlights and sample this place right here as the highlights. So right now we have the colors for our shadows on the image, the midtones on the image, and the highlights on the image, and click on OK. After that, come to your layer mask, this black layer mask. Make sure your brush is on normal. Make sure your normal brush too. Opacity 100, flow 100. Make sure you're using a soft round brush, and just paint on only the skin of the image like that. So zoom in a little bit and just brush on only the skin of the image, so that you can actually even out the colors on the image like that. So you can see right now it's not looking really good, but we are going to fix that after. So just watch, we are going to fix it. And also we just hit 4,000 subscribers. Thanks to everyone who has been watching my video. It's really amazing. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to paint on this image like this. All right, I think we are good. So let's see. So this is the before and this is the after. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come to my feather under this layer mask, under properties, come to your feather and just feather it to blur the edge, to make the edge look smooth. So if you look at the edge, you can see how harsh they are. So if I just feather it like this a little bit, the edges are going to be smooth. So we're going to have smooth edges like that. Okay, I like it like this. Now next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come to my blend mode, change it from normal to color. So when I change it to color, you can see it's looking a lot better right now. And from here, all you have to do is just play with your opacity until you feel the whole color are looking even. So I'm going to take my opacity slider all the way down to about 25. I think 25 works for me for this image. So you can see the colors of the image right now, they are all matching, they are the same. So if I just show you the before and after, the before and after, you can see right now they are looking the same. So maybe I can just take it down to about, let's say 20%. Okay, so before and after. So this is how you can actually even out the skin color or skin tone of your image. Now the next thing I'm going to do for this image, I'm going to be color grading this image, and I'm going to be using camera raw to color grade this image. So I'm going to create a stamp visible layer by pressing Ctrl Shift Alternate E or Command Option Alternate E if you're using a Mac. So once I create that stamp visible layer, I'm going to come to my filter. I'm going to convert it to a smart filter. And the reason why I convert it to a smart filter is so that if I make any adjustment instead of camera raw and I really don't like the adjustment, I can just go back and change it. So I'll come to my filter. I'll come to camera raw right here. So once my camera raw opens up, the first thing I'm going to do, which is everything I'm going to do, I learned this from a YouTuber. I've forgotten the name of the YouTuber. First thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to come down to my calibration tab and just come to my blue primary and just take it all the way up to about 61. And what this does to this image, it just makes the image pop and just makes the color look even more attractive. So this is the before, and this is after I just moved that blue primary saturation. You can see the before and the after. But right now I feel the saturation of the oranges is too much, so I'll come to my color mixer right here, just come to my saturation and just bring down the saturation of the oranges down a little bit like this. So I think like this works for me for this image. And next I'm going to do this image, I'll come to my color grading and just come to my shadow area and just add a little bit of blues to the shadow area, just a little bit of blues like this. Okay, and also for the midtones, I'm going to add a little bit of oranges or yellows to the midtones like that. Okay, just a little bit. Also for the highlights, I'm going to add a little bit of oranges to the highlights, just a little bit like that. So let's see, this is the before and this is the after. The before and the after, the before and the after. It's looking really good like this. Now next I'm going to do, I'm just going to add presets to this image just to make the skin a little bit smoother. So I'll come to my preset right here and I'll just come to my adaptive subject. Once I click on soft, and as you can see, it has automatically made the skin of the model look soft. You can choose to add amount if you want from here, but I think I like it like this. So this is the before and this is the after, the before and the after. So this is all I'm going to do inside of camera raw. I'm going to click on OK. So if I just show you the before and after what we've done inside camera raw, you see we've done an pretty amazing job coloring this image. So this is the before and this is the after, the before and the after. The image still look natural, we still have the colors and everything is just popping. Now next time I'm going to do, I'm just going to group everything and show you our overall before and after. This is the before and this is the after. Before, after. Now I'm going to save this image. So this is how you can actually save your image for web to get that sharp looking image when you upload it to Instagram and also to Facebook. To do that, just come to your file, click on your export, and click for this save for web legacy. Since you want to be uploading it to Instagram and Facebook, click on save for web legacy. I'm just going to open this window right here. So make sure your progressive is selected, make sure your embed color profile is selected, make sure convert to sRGB is selected, and your quality right here, you can choose to use 70, 75 or 80 or 85, but mine is always on 80 or 75. And after that, all you have to do is click on save like that, and you successfully save and retouch your image. So that's how I actually retouch this image from start to finish using Capture One, Photoshop and Camera Raw. If you want to learn how to color grade your image using Photoshop, Camera Raw, Capture One and Lightroom, click on this video show right here. I'll see you guys in my next video. Stay creative.